Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhuta. Stay here. Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminita Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi. Gauravani Pacharani Nirvasesha Sunyavari Paskachada Satarani. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar. Shiva Sari Guru Bhakta Brinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It seems to have a life of its own. Last Saturday, Balaram gave class, Balaram Prabhu, and he was talking about a section from the Chaitanya Charitamrita about cleansing the heart. So why does that matter? What are some of the basis of that? That's what we're going to talk about today. So I don't want to say much more. We'll just get started. And everyone's looking for a secret, a key that unlocks the process of devotional service. What is that? Everyone's looking for a shortcut. And maybe there are actually steps, keys, secrets. So here we'll find out. So the source of this, one source is Rupa Goswami's. That's a picture of Rupa Goswami, obviously, and from the Nectar of Devotion and the Nectar of Instruction, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and the Upadeshamrita. So the sources are these two books, also by Krishnadas Kaviraj and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So those are the sources. We could probably, when we were in, and somebody's got to get me a clock, because we got to be careful, because we got a lot of material to cover. We used to cross, perfect, thank you very much, Daniel. We used to cross from Detroit to Toronto, Detroit to Windsor, Canada, to distribute books. And one time they stopped us going through customs, and they confiscated the books. We said, these are religious, there shouldn't be any tax, any duty, these are, religious literature. No, we've got to send it to Ottawa, and they, so they kept the books for a month, and we got a letter back that we had to pay tax on them because they weren't religious, they were scientific. And Govardhan, the temple president, when Prabhupada visited, coincidentally, or by Krishna's arrangement, a couple days later, and Prabhupada really liked that they'd analyze the books and determine they were not sentiment or just, someone's opinion, but they were scientific. So it is a science. There's a method. There's a, you get your lab book and you add this and you add that and it blows up or it turns different colors or, does what crystallizes, does whatever it's supposed to do. You follow the steps, you get the result. So it is not sentiment, it is the science of bhakti. There's a methodology, there's an ABCD. So let's start with this. What is the nature of our heart? Because that is how we experience the world, how we, our conceptions, our values, are we passionate or ignorant or full of lust or greed or angry? We'll get into that. But the fact of the matter, it is our tool for perception, how we experience the world, how we understand things. One man said this chanting is brainwashing. Prabhupada said, if the brain is dirty, shouldn't you wash it? Then Prabhupada said, actually get a brain, then we'll wash it. And man said, I have a brain. Prabhupada said, if you have a brain, it's cow dung. So Prabhupada could be pretty heavy. So the fact of the matter is our heart a refined tool for perception? To make it clear, is our heart tuned to catch Krishna's signal, like the radio dish? It tunes, it adjusts. So like a radio, are we tuned into Krishna's? And we have the ability to do that, but what are the secrets? So Krishna's sending out his signal. The radio station is sending out the signal, but you got to have a good radio and you got to be tuned to the right station, otherwise you won't catch the signal. So Krishna's sending out his signal, his guidance via the Chaitya Guru, Krishna in the heart, Diksha Guru, the Guru who gives initiation and gives the holy name, and the Siksha Guru, the Guru who gives instruction. So Krishna's sending out, he's doing his part. But is our heart tuned? The And people say, show me the truth. Okay, just show me. If there's God, But Prabhupada's point was that, where does Krishna want to sit? If we want Krishna to sit in our heart and give guidance, what is the nature of our heart? And most people don't even think about this. The materialists, but the introspective sages in every genuine spiritual tradition, this is what they're thinking about. All right, how do I purify my consciousness? How do I purify my heart so I can actually understand who I am and what's going on in this world and what is the nature of the cause of all causes, Krishna? So people make that demand, but if we want Krishna to, where does Krishna want to sit? Does he want to sit in a pile of garbage? Or does he want to sit in a nice, clean place? So if we want Krishna to speak to us within the heart, then okay, what's the nature of our heart? Is it full of garbage or is it clean and pure? Prabhupada gives the example. You can drop a spark on wet grass or dry grass. You drop it on wet grass, nothing happens. You put it on dry grass, the spark will go. So we have a responsibility here. If where's God, or how come we have a responsibility. We have to do our part. And that's making the heart clean, making it nice and dry, so the spark birth. Same point, we're almost done, but clean or cluttered consciousness. Clean, you can see right through it, but full of muck and dirt, you can't see anything. What does it Krishna say? Smoke, an embryo covered by the womb, a mirror covered by dust, the fire covered by smoke. These are different coverings of the examples, passion, ignorance, and goodness, covering the heart. This is the famous question that was asked of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada's guru. Why do some people not advance in spite of all kinds of effort? They're doing all the formula, but we see that they're not really their heart is not becoming cleansed, and the question is why. So the example is, well, I'll tell it quickly. There was a wedding party in Bengal. Everyone takes advantage of boat service because there's so many rivers. So they were going from the from the bride's village, the bride's family. They were going up to the groom's village, and it was an overnight row. And anyone who goes to a wedding, there's going to be a nice feast. They're going to see all their friends. It's going to be a great ha ha ha. Everyone's happy, right? So they got on the boat. And they went to bed, and they told the boatman 2 gold coins, if you get us there by sunrise. Boatman was very enthusiastic, rowed all night long. They woke up, they were in the exact same spot. How is it possible that the boat hadn't moved, they were in the exact same spot, and the boatman was rowing all night long, and he was not going in circles? Anyone know how it's possible? Huh? Exactly. He didn't pull up the anchor. So unless we learn how to pull out the anartas out of the heart, if we don't learn how to pull up the anchor of attachment, you can do all the effort, but there it is. So a farmer, Prabhupada says, is engaged in 2 things. Especially you see this in the rice fields. They're pulling out the weeds and they're planting the shoots. So they're pulling out weeds, planting shoots. We have to do the same in our heart. Here's the example. We have to protect. In other words, we have to pull out the anartas and we have to put in the positive. We're going to talk about that in a minute. This is self-evident. So you plant something, that's not enough. You've got to water it, you've got to nurture it, you've got to protect it. It's called the Bhakti Lata Bija, or the vine or creeper of devotional service. You plant the seed, it'll eventually grow and catch on to Krishna's lotus feet. The first thing I heard Prabhupada say was, we have so many do-nots. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but I thought he said donuts. But actually he was talking about in every process there's do's and do-nots, yama and niyama. There's things these are the positives, these are the negatives, and you need to understand both. So these are the do-nots. Here are 6 causes of fall down, or that slow our progress. And this is from Rupa Goswami. You want the keys, here it is. It's like an open book test. We've not been left behind. The great acharyas, they've given us their boat of their instruction. We're crossing the ocean of birth and death. They've already transcended. They've gone back home, back to Godhead, and left us all alone? No. They've given us the boat of their instruction. And if we climb in that boat, follow their instructions, we also can cross over the ocean of birth and death. So this is from Rupa Goswami's Nectar Instruction. Atyahara, overeating or too much collecting. I love that picture. There's the famous statement by Gandhi, there's enough for the world's needs, but not the world's greed. And we want so many things, but what do we actually need? So we're collecting more, eating more, this and that, and collecting more, this. But what do we actually need? And one of the symptoms of a devotee is arjavam, which means simple. Doesn't mean simpleton, but it means a simple, clean life. And they're so cluttered. Can't see the forest through the trees. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on this. But here's just something to think about. I think you all know this. That everyone's chasing after Western American standard or Western world, what do you call it, developed nation standard. And everybody wants to get there. Now, it's a simple thing. You take the amount of resources, I forget exactly the ratio, but we'll just say it this way. To lift the whole planet, all the population, what is it, 7 billion now? To the standard of, Western Europe, Australia, America, to lift all that which is what everybody's chasing after, it will take the resources of 6 planet Earths. To the point that you can't do it. You can't lift the whole population to the standard of sense gratification and exploitation that is. So what happens? Are you going to have a ghettoized world? Are you going to have a revolution? What's going to happen? The formula simply does not work. They're all chasing after it, but it just doesn't work. I mean, there's so many ways we can make the same point. So that's over-collecting. It just doesn't work. Overeating, over-collecting. This is prayashas, over-endeavoring for material things. Late for an important date. Oh, I don't have time for Krishna consciousness. I'll do it later. One man kept saying, I was in the room. This man kept looking at his watch. Obviously, his wife had dragged him to the darshan. He didn't really want to be there, And he kept looking at his watch. And Prabhupada, who didn't miss a thing, Prabhupada finally said to the man, what's the issue? You got somewhere you got to be? And the man said, I have a very important appointment and I do not want to miss it. Prabhupada's response was, you only have one appointment and you will not miss it. Anyone know what that appointment is? Death. And you can't say, nope, that date doesn't work. Thursday doesn't work. How about never? No. It knocks on your door and that's it. And another aspect of this is struggling too hard to achieve, material things that are hard to achieve. So, okay, you can climb to the Mount Everest, we can go to the moon, everybody's busy. But what is it? There's that line, you might look cute in a tie and a suit, but one thing you can't hide is when you're crippled inside. So you can get all the stuff, but if you got that vacuum in your heart, you're not going to be satisfied. Unless you're connected with Krishna, you're not going to be happy. You can accomplish even the impossible, so-called impossible. This is prajalpa. Again, these are all the things that are toxic. These are the weeds that choke out the bhakti lata bij, the plant of devotional service. Unnecessary talking about mundane things. People, well, you'll see. Here's the Srila Prabhupada's joke about the priest and the coal miners. Prabhupada liked a good joke. There was a Christian priest, I don't know when it was, but you could say the early 19th century, preaching to coal miners in Newcastle, England. And he was saying that you have to surrender to Jesus. They were simple, they're uneducated. They said, well, who's Jesus? What's his number? So Prabhupada tells a joke. Every miner has a number, right? And the man said, no. Jesus is not like that. He's not an ordinary person like that. He's the Lord. And if you don't surrender to him, you'll have to go to hell. So they said, well, okay, well, what's hell? And they said, oh, it's dark, it's at the center of the earth, it's hot, you have to slave away. They're in the mines. Didn't bother them at all, So they were unaffected by the priest's description of hell. So then the man was intelligent, Prabhupada said, he said, and in hell there is no newspaper. They were all shocked, horrible, you know. So at the Sunday, Prabhupada says, big lump of newspaper, the big, you know, of course now everybody does it online. But the point is that we're hearing so many things. Prabhupada said the bird wakes up chirping, where is worm, where is worm? The man wakes up, he's looking at the Wall Street Journal, where is money, where is money? But the consciousness is the same. And this is a spooky thought. This is an analogy from the Bhagavatam, that the frog is croaking. Prabhupada does a great frog imitation. That the frog is croaking, and he thinks, oh, actually they're usually calling out, either they're territorial, hey, I'm here, don't mess with my space, or they're calling out, hey, I got a big deep voice, he's calling for a mate. So they're calling for a mate, or they're making a territorial demand. And what happens with that croaking? From Bhagavatam? Look at the picture. The snake of death comes and swallows him. We spend our whole time talking nonsense, and before we know it, time and tide wait for no one. So in this way, our big talking, all it does is invite death. And this is, they say, one who knows does not. This is the empiricists give the example of a clay pot. If you tap a clay pot, it'll make a bunch of noise, tong, tong, tong. You fill it with water, it doesn't make any sound. So they say, one who knows is full of knowledge, does not speak. But what do the Vaishnavas say? What does not speaking mean for the Vaishnavas? Does it mean we take a vow of silence? What happens if the book distributors take a vow of silence? Somebody said something back there. It means you don't speak nonsense, but you speak about Krishna. That's... There was a darshan in London, Mukunda Maharaj told me this. There was this impersonalist, and he was making the presentation to Prabhupada that one who knows doesn't speak. Of course, he was speaking. And Prabhupada said, very good. Do you believe that everyone should practice what they believe? They should practice their philosophy. They should follow the strength of their conviction. The man said, yes. So Prabhupada said, very good. Your philosophy is don't speak. So you be quiet, and we'll speak about Krishna. Man was completely fried, you know. But devotees appreciate it. So real speaking, real silence is to speak only about Krishna. Okay. This is the next, niyamagraha. Niyamagraha means blindly following. It means either to ignore the rules, we'll get that in a second, or it means to blindly follow. And Prabhupada tells the story that there was a wedding. And a girl got married, wonderful marriage, happy, everything worked out great, marital bliss, one of those great oxymorons, like country music and whatever, military intelligence, we can go on and on. But the girl who gets married then grows up, she has her own children, and now it's time for her daughter to get married. So she had such a happy marriage. Oh, in the middle of the girl, the mother, when she got married, they laid everything out. You see a nice wedding, they lay out all the paraphernalia, this is called the Jagasthala, where they lay all the paraphernalia for the wedding out the priest is going to use. And a cat kept running back and forth. Cats are unclean, dogs, cats. You know, when was the last time you saw a cat take a shower and shave up and put on tilak? So what to do? The cat's running across the, you know. So the priest said, just put a basket over it. No, don't hurt the cat, but you just put a basket. He's constrained. Take him out of the basket. You know, when the wedding's over. Okay, fine. Worked out fine. She got married, children. Now the woman is grown up. It's time for her daughter to get married. She went to the same temple, same astrologer, same priest. Everything laid out the same. The priest said, "Okay, we're ready to go. You can bring in the groom and the bride." The mother said, "No, something's missing." Anyone know what was missing? There's no cat in the basket. In other words, they were blindly following. Prabhupada gives the example, and you see this if you go to you go to Vrindavan sometimes, you go to Radhakund, you go to different places, or what to speak of Benares, or and you'll see the Brahmins all go down to the river, and they're all doing their puja at the bank of the river, and they all have their tray and their ghee lamp and all that stuff, right? So you've got 30 Brahmins on the bank. They all got the same kind of brass paraphernalia. They get mixed up sometime. So one Brahmin said, hey, took a little ball of clay, put a ball of clay on his tray. That way he would mark his tray, which was his tray. He did his puja, put his ball of clay on the tray, went down and bathed. Came back, all the other trays had balls of clay on them. Because the Brahmin said, oh, he knows something. And they didn't want to pretend like they didn't know. They had no idea the meaning of the thing, but they were just blindly following. So people blindly follow, So that's blind following. We have to know what we're doing and why. Here's the other side of the thing. Forget all the rules and regulations. What happens if you don't follow? You follow the recipe, you get a nice cake. And there's many egg replacers. You can make a nice cake without eggs. You skip the recipe, what happens? We don't have any baking powder. I'm not going to use baking powder. And well, I'll compensate. I'll put a little more extra salt. And hey, I won't use butter. I'll use, I don't know what, corn oil. And, instead of flour, well, I'll use oatmeal. How's it going to turn out? There it is. That's how it's going to turn out. You got to follow the recipe. It's common sense. So this is Jana Sangha, associating with worldly-minded people. What do they say? Garbage in, garbage out? Whatever you associate, well, you'll see. This is from the Narada Muni speaking in the Narada Bhakti Sutra. Material association is, why devotees? You're not watching television, or you're not, searching online for this or that, and you're not hanging out, hey, how about them Padres? You guys, what do you do for fun? Material association is the cause. Nobody wants to suffer these things. Lust, anger, confusion, forgetfulness, loss of intelligence, total calamity. Anybody want to sign up for those? Got any volunteers here? We're all trying to avoid these things. But here's the equation. Material association is the cause of these things. Therefore, you want to avoid these things, avoid material association. The rising like waves from material association, these bad effects mass into a great ocean of misery. Why am I suffering? Well, here's the reason you're suffering. There's a science. There's a methodology. It's not just chance, and it's not if I just get more. This is lolium. Lolium means greediness. It's all mine. Being greedy for mundane achievements. But what does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita about lust? It burns like fire and is never satisfied. Not if you don't remember anything else, it's just a simple law of the material nature, just like gravity. Burns like fire, it's never satisfied. The more you get, the more it increases the fire. The more fuel you put on fire, bigger the fire gets. It never goes out. You deny it fuel, then it goes out. And the whole world is driven on these principles. And where does it end? How much is enough? You talk to billionaires, they say, oh, well, I'm just going to make a few more billion, One guy said, it's just how you keep score, Where do they all want to get on top. So when are you ever going to be satisfied? So these are the principles that hold us back. We're going to do another set. That's from the Upadeshamrita. This set comes from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, cleansing of the Gundicha temple. And just for fun, here's a very rare picture. This is the inside of the Gundicha temple in Jagannath Puri, because you Westerners can't get in, but this is what it looks like inside, and then you go through that middle door, and you can actually get into where they keep Lord Jagannath during the Rath Yatra. So, and Srila Bhakti, you can read these. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, quoted by Srila Prabhupada in this section. If you read the cleansing of the Gundicha temple in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's elaborate purports on each of these principles. We're just skimming to give you the idea. So Kutinata means fault finding. Is our mind like a bee or is it like a fly? Where do you find the fly? Always has trash or stool. It's always on top of something nasty. It's looking for something nasty. Where do you find a bee? Nice flower. So we can train our mind. Am I going to find fault in others? Prabhupada said, strict with ourselves, lenient with others. That's a Vaishnava standard. Whatever if it's our duty to correct them, okay, fine. Other than that, I got enough business taking care of my own heart. So if we train the mind to see the good qualities in others, then where will we live? We have a choice of where we live. I mean, what our experience in the world is. Do we want to live in a nasty, agitated world? Then let your mind be like a fly, finding fault. If you want to live in a peaceful, happy world, fine. And it doesn't mean slap a happy, it doesn't mean naivete. But if you see the good in others, then, and you say, oh, Krishna's mercy, this and that, then you avoid this fault finding, and you live in a nice, peaceful place. Eager to find fault in others. This is Ramchandra Puri, again in Chaitanya Charitamrita, one of the famous fault finders. That if you ever go to Puri, it's true. There's ants. They happen to be everywhere, you know. So, but he went into Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's room and said, this sannyasi must be hiding. He's eating sweets in private. Although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a very austere, most austere sannyasi. So just eager to find fault in others. And you can read in Chaitanya Charitamrita how that works out for Ramchandra Puri, to the point he gets rejected by his own spiritual master. So just magnify. Even there's a little fault, you know, we don't magnify it. And this is the same point. Tend to our own garden. We've got our own issues, you know. Study our own heart. There will be sufficient subject matter to keep us busy. What is it Jesus says? You know, what is it? You look at the grain in somebody's eye and miss the you know, the fault of your own. What is it? A splinter and a mote. Or what? Yeah, splinter and plank. That's what it is. You know, so you look at the little fault in somebody else and ignore the huge fault of yourself. I mean, what's that? Don't worry, we're going to get to the positive in a moment. Pratishta. Desire for name, fame, and high position. This is the fever. Everyone wants to be on top. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I'm perfect, powerful, and happy. I'm the richest man. There's none so powerful and happy as I am. This is what we all want to do. Get on top. It's a seed desire, at least for the materialistic vision. There's a picture of Jimmy Carter when he first went into the Oval Office as the President of the United States. It's so far out, you know, and it was a big austerity, a lot of hard work, you know, 10 years of, you know, every day, this is what he wants. And he's walking, and you see him, he's jumped off the ground, he's about 2 feet off the ground, and he's spinning. He's just literally in mundane ecstasy. I made it. This can also happen to devotees. Prabhupada used an example like a puri, you know, it puffs up, or a japati, poof, it's full of hot air. So we think, oh, I'm the best pujari, I'm the best madanga player, I'm the best book distributor, I'm the best ISKCON leader, I'm a wonderful ISKCON guru. It's just the seed is there. It's so easy for that thing to fructify. Of pride. This is jiva himsa, envy of other living entities, doing violence to others, exploiting others. This is the, you know, the 1% and the 99%, you know. Prabhupada said there's always going to be 3 categories of people. It's always going to be 3 categories. And what are those 3 here's the materialist. The categories are, there'll always be someone who's more advanced than us. There'll always be somebody on the same level with us. And there'll always be others who are less fortunate, less advanced than us. There's always going to be higher, same, and lower. It's always like that. So how does the materialist see it? How does a materialist see someone who's weaker than them, more dependent on them, not as fortunate? What do they do with such a person? Exploit them. What do they do with someone who's on the same level? Compete. Try to push them back. Try to, you know, get the, you know. And what do you do with someone who's more advanced than you? You know, more, you know, whatever it is. Lifestyles of the rich and famous. Envy. So that's the world they live in. They're either exploiting, they're competing, or they're envious. Sound like a nice world to live in? How's a devotee see? Someone who's less fortunate, what do the devotees do? Give them mercy. Yeah, try to help them. This is mercy. Give them transcendental knowledge. Give them some prasadam. Give them some solace. That's the activity of a devotee. And someone who's on the same level, what do? Make friendship. Make friendship. Hey, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. And someone who's more advanced, you offer service and take instruction. So that's the devotee world. We're giving mercy, we've got friends, and we're taking shelter. Which world do we want to live in? Choice is ours. So same thing. The opposite of jiva himsa is jiva daya. It means giving mercy to the conditioned souls, giving them transcendental knowledge, how to find light, how to get out of this dark world. And here, if you see this, these are nice kids. What do they know about anything? They're full of, whatever's online and whatever they've been taught in school, and, and just see, wait a minute, maybe there's more to life. Nishadachara. This means accepting things forbidden in the Shastra. Basically, it means breaking the 4 regulative principles. If I try to light a fire and I pour water at the same time, what's going to happen? Am I going to be successful? Well, you have so many do-nots. Why do why don't you do the, Because that's, if you're trying to light the fire of devotional service and you're eating meat, illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, speculation, no, it won't work. It's just common sense. So it's not blind following, it's scientific. This, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Are we only polished animals? Eat any damn thing, smorgasbord. You know the example. Donkey working hard for what? Why are we working so hard? Grass is growing on either side of the road. Life is not meant to be a grind. Did you just get a little pigeonhole in a skyscraper building? Prabhupada says you get a little apartment. Maybe you can finally get a mortgage and slave all of your life and get a house. And all you do is drop dead and give it to your children. That's what life's all about? A hard struggle and you get a little few crumbs at the end of the thing? Anyway, you got the example. This is a jackal. A jackal one time was, this is from the, Aesop's fables comes from this, the Panchatantra. They're stories it's a part of one of the Vedas, and it's like Aesop's fables, but it uses animals to make a story about a moral story. So there was a jackal one time. Ooh, I can't see what time it is. There was a jackal. He was walking on a wall. Jackals, like a coyote. Jackals are kind of low on the tier in the animal life. They're kind of scroungy, scavengers. They're not, it's not like a tiger or a lion or a gazelle or, they're not really graceful, they're not powerful, it's just kind of on the margins of animal society. So one time there was a jackal, and he was, sneaking into the village along a wall trying to, get a little, maybe, steal some, whatever, a loaf of bread or something. He slipped off the wall. I'm already a jackal. Now I'm blue. So he slunk back to the forest. But no one had ever seen a bright blue. They didn't know what it was. So they all started offering respects. Thanks enough. So all the animals started offering respects. So the jackal, he didn't reveal, hey, I'm just the jackal, now I'm blue. They put him on a throne. You see all the other animals are offering respects. But what happened? As the moon got fuller and fuller and fuller, what the jackals do, wolves do, at a full moon? They howl or bay at the moon. And after a while, he just finally, he could not restrain himself. Oh! And they said, hey, wait a minute, this is a jackal, he's just blue. And they all chased him out of the forest. So our nature will come out. And even your polished, but if you're just a dog, hog, camel, or ass, it will come out. And that's what we've got, a society like that. And Prabhupada, this is a great example Prabhupada uses. The vultures, they have a very far-out eye. A vulture's eye can simultaneously do wide, can see a whole field, and simultaneously be zeroed in. So it can do wide scope, whatever you call that, I forget the name of that, but they can see a whole wide scope, and they can be focused at the same time. And they can see things from 3 miles up. But what is a vulture looking for? Great eyesight. What are they looking for? A rotting, dead carcass. So, okay, you're big and advanced, but what do you look at? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending? Like a dog, bones and feathers in your mouth? So what is that? So this is kama, lust for material things. So you can see the result of this. I'm going to speed up a bit here. Puja, hankering for popularity. That people are going to honor me. Chaitanya, well, we'll get there in a second. How long does fame last? I love this picture on the right-hand side. This guy's looking, he's got his happy face, everything's right in the world, But who's behind him? Death with a pin. Tink! There goes your balloon of happiness. Time and tide wait for no one. It's the most common sense thing. The fool here, we see this is the prince. This is from a tarot card. He's got his dog, he sees a sunny day, he's got a flower. Everything's great. What's wrong in this picture? Our prince. What's happening? He's just about to dance off a cliff. I saw a bumper sticker, if you're not paranoid, you haven't been paying attention. It's a fact. So now we've talked, these are the negative things we want to pull out. Now these are positive things. This comes from the nectar of instruction. So these are the positive steps. We don't just leave you, don't do this, don't do that. Be aware of that. But okay, what's the positive? So utsaha means enthusiasm. Well, I guess we'll get as far as we go and maybe pick up next week. Utsaha, this is enthusiasm. And there's this, Prabhupada tells the story. He was walking in Calcutta. You can hear it on the tape. It's a morning walk. He's walking in Calcutta, and he walks past, this is the Victoria Memorial. I don't know when it was built, late 1800s? Yeah, something like that. But it was for Queen Victoria, celebrating her 50th year on the throne. And she was empress of the world, included India. So they built this big, it was built in India in honor of Queen Victoria. And you can see, you can Google it. It's about 16 stories. It's quite a large building, actually. And it was a bamboo scaffolding. You ever seen those bamboo scaffoldings? They creak, and they're not a steel structure like you've got in downtown Manhattan. In the developing world, they make scaffolding out and they lash it with strips of bamboo, and it's stable, but they creak, they shift. So Prabhupada, as a young boy, climbed up that scaffolding all the way to the top. Things creaking in the wind. So the devotee said, "Prabhupada, you were very brave." Prabhupada's response, "And I am still brave. Otherwise, how have I come to your country all alone?" So that enthusiasm for Krishna, let me take a risk for Krishna, let me carry Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. That enthusiasm is necessary. This next one is Little Vaishnav Das Prabhu in Detroit. He was about maybe 4 years old. Prabhupada came to the Detroit temple. This is the old Detroit temple. And Vaishnava had never seen Prabhupada. He'd been hearing, like Santa Claus, Prabhupada this, Prabhupada that, Prabhupada. So Prabhupada was actually in the temple. So he came running. His mother woke him up, showered him up, and he had one of those little onesies, those little, the feet, and they got the zipper up the front. They put in, little kids, like flannel, like a pajama suit. So he came running into the temple room, and there was a little stone door jamb like this. He didn't hurt himself, but he tripped on it. And because he was running, he hit the floor, and like this. He slid across the floor. It's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's Vaishnava. Zzz, and he landed right in front of Prabhupada's Vyasa-san. It was pretty far out. And Prabhupada looked down. Prabhupada said, utsaha. One must be in... Prabhupada said, dandavats. Because he was out like he was offering full, like falling down like a rod offering. He just tripped and landed in front of Prabhupada. But it looked like he was offering obeisances. And Prabhupada took it from that. Prabhupada said, dandavats. Utsaha. We must be enthusiastic. And what happens with a rocket if the engine shuts off? This is a big hint, but before it leaves the Earth's atmosphere, if you're still within the gravitational pull of the Earth and you shut off the engine, what happens? What happens? You fall back down. You've got to keep pushing. Once you get beyond the Earth's atmosphere, then that momentum will carry you when there's no gravitational force or whatever it is, and there's no friction. Off you go. There comes a point in devotional service when one actually spontaneously is attracted to Krishna. But until one gets to that stage, we got to keep pushing. You got to be enthusiastic. Otherwise, what do they say? Rust never sleeps. So I gave the example the other day. You got a 100-watt light bulb. You can't turn in a 200-watt dark bulb, and it goes dim. Darkness is the absence of light. But if we're not pushing forward enthusiastically, Prabhupada said you shut off a light, you don't have to call for darkness. It's immediately there. So we need that utsaha. Let me follow. Let me be serious. Let me engage. Nishchayat. to endeavor with confidence. We have little Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva means determination. So you have Dhruva, Lord Narayan appears, Narada Muni appears before him and says, you're a young prince, you're in the forest all alone, go home and come back later. And in polite words, Dhruva said, if you can't help me find Vishnu, then you go home, I'm not leaving. Narada was so impressed, it's a whole story, but within 6 weeks, 6 months? 6 months, he saw Krishna face to face. So that determination. Dayabhak, that's a rightful inheritance. That if you're a good son, good daughter, you'll inherit the property of the parents. It's just it's a law. It's someplace it's the first child, sometimes it's whatever, the first male child, whatever it is. But that right of inheritance, and this determination, one of the causes of that determination is we know if I serve Krishna to the best of my ability, then my rightful inheritance, Krishna will give, he'll reveal himself. I will get bhakti. So we have that determination. I just stay the course. It works. So that's one of the catalysts or genesis or causes of that determination. We have that confidence. Daryat means being patient. Prabhupada says, generally speaking, a pious, of course now they kill the child, they birth control or abortion. But generally speaking, a nice mother, nice woman, she wants to have a child. So they get married, they want to have a child. But, I now pronounce you man and wife, boom, they get a child along with the deal. Takes a minimum of 9 months. So, but Prabhupada gives the example, if the woman is fertile and the man is potent, there will be a child. It may take 9 months, but there will be a child. So if the student is fertile, if the student is sincere, and the spiritual master is potent, bona fide, coming in bona fide sampradaya, there will be the conception of pure Krishna consciousness. It just takes some time. It's not cheap. Drops of water wear away stone. Just keep at it. So tat tat karma pavartanat. This means act according to regulative principles. There's signposts. There's northeast, southwest. Find the coordinates, and you'll find the goal. Follow the road maps. You'll get there successfully through twists and turns of life. People want to speculate. Well, as far as I know. Well, as far as I know. I was in the room, and I kept saying, well, Swami, as far as I know. After about the 4th or 5th time, Prabhupada said, that's my point. How far do you know? How far do we actually know? We're so arrogant. Can't even see what's happening on the other side of this wall. And we're going to say, as far as I know. So, and the Sango Tyagat, giving up bad association. Garbage in, garbage out. This guy's having second thoughts. What's the latest in fashion and video games and how to make money and But because whatever you associate, I think it says it next. Whatever you associate with you, because hey, what happened? Oh my gosh. We have a technical error here. Good thing we've got tapas. Yeah, let's go back. Back. How did we jump so fast? Go fast. 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 Okay, hey. I got it. Thank you, Prabhu. Tapas to the rescue. So, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, we don't imitate. We follow their example. We follow in their footsteps. If we do what they do, it will work. It's not a mystery. As I said earlier, those great souls have all left. How will I follow them? No, they've gone to the spiritual world and left us behind. No, they've left their instructions. They've left us the process of devotional service. Out of 64 elements, this is nectar of devotion, 64 elements. Again, we're talking about the positive 5. We're going to go through these quickly. These are the 5 essential. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Information that there's a higher eternal reality, a better way of seeing and living. See this guy? He's schlepping home from Walmart. He's, scenic view. Hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute. There's more to life. Wait a minute. A dog only looks up 45 degrees, from the way its neck, and they never look straight up. So wait a minute. There's a higher reality. I'm not meant to just grind through things. So you hear that message in Bhagavatam. People complain, I'm tired, I'm weak, I got a pain in my stomach. You go to the doctor. I'm tired, I'm weak, I'm lethargic. Doctor says, oh, have you been eating? Oh, I hadn't thought of that. If you don't eat, what happens? If we don't read, if we don't associate with the transcendental message of Bhagavatam, we become anemic, you become weak. And you wonder, well, I'm not enthusiastic in devotional service. Are you doing these 5 things? It's an easy diagnosis. Living in a holy place. Prabhupada said the brothel, that's the mode of ignorance. A city, the churning of a city, that's the mode of passion. And a peaceful forest, that's the mode of goodness. So am I saying we should all move to the Escondido farm? Hang on a minute. I'll just say it. We'll get there in a second, but how living in a temple is even beyond living in a forest. It's a completely spiritual atmosphere. That's why we care what we do. We care who hangs out at the temple. We keep the place neat and clean because living in a holy place elevates one's consciousness. We don't leave, don't get me started. Oh, worshiping the deity. That where do we put our love? Ishtadeva. That here's beautiful Radha Giridhari. And this building is for them. We go out and spread their glories. We're living by their mercy. That love, instead of loving just a dog or a cat, why not love Krishna, who made all of that? One of our little Gurukula kids, Dwarkadish, 6 years old, his poetry. So, because you got to fix the mind on something. Krishna says in the Gita, those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are unembodied. Prabhupada said, you want to worship the universal form, where are you going to put the garland? But here we know we're cooking for Krishna, we're seeing Krishna, so many things. Prabhupada said, you see the deities nicely decorated, it's a feast for the eyes. Otherwise, what are you going to think about? Here's the guy trying to make the mind, you're going to think about chocolate or who knows what. Actually, we know what. You'll be thinking about the opposite sex. And associating with devotees. These are those 5 core things. That whatever you associate with, you become like. I think it says, whatever we associate, you become like. There's a plumbers association. There's the dog breeders association. There's golf. There's a walking club. I mean, what is the message? 1 foot in front of the other. I don't know what the walking club is. But the point is that whatever you if you associate with like-minded people, it will enhance your inclinations. So we associate with devotees. We're almost done. There's fool number 1 and fool number 2. Anyone know who fool number 1 is? Oh, nice humble Vaishnavas, they pointed to themselves. Fool number 1, they do so many foolish things. Who is fool number 2? The one who follows fool number 1. And that's what we've got, the blind following the blind, and they all fall into the ditch. This is from the Yamaraj, in one of the Puranas. O my Lord Krishna, may I have the association of your devotees, which is the sharp sword that cuts the bonds of repeated birth and death, and the only way to obtain a place at your lotus feet. The value of the association of Vaishnavas. We're almost done. And here's how do we deal with each other? Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasadam, offering prasadam. These are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee with another. So these wonderful exchanges, it makes, instead of, you're going to get attached to something. They say, if you're a politician, you go to Washington. If you want a friend, get a dog. Because no one else is going to be, everyone's, dog eat dog world, Everyone's looking for a friend. Well, at least I got my mom or, whatever. Everybody's looking for. But if we make friendship with the devotees, it's so satisfying. And it protects us. So here's the last one, chanting the holy name. Both chanting japa nicely in the temple room, peacefully, no distractions, not up, down, in, out, what's for breakfast, this, walking. No, just sit in the temple, chant Hare Krishna, bathe the mind in the holy name. And out on Kirtan, Harinam. By associating with fire, a thing becomes like fire. The iron rod in the fire. We associate with the holy name, which is a papavidyam, pure and antiseptic. We associate with the holy name, Krishna, Krishna Surya, the Nam Surya, the sun of the holy name. It illuminates, it purifies the holy name. We're going to go, of course you know this is from Lord Chaitanya's, we're going to speed up. So, because we're almost done. The point is, if we look at those 5 essential principles, and we look at Prabhupada's instructions, the do-nots and the do's, how expertly he's crafted ISKCON. ISKCON is like a boat. Prabhupada said, we didn't used to have a morning program. We got up around 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, at least when I first moved in. And Friday, Saturday, we would stay out super late on Harinam, book distribution, sleep in. We knew there was a Mangalarti because anyway, I don't want to spend too much time. If we went and got flowers at the flower market once a week, when we came back, the head pujari, Shalavati, would give us this nice vanilla fudge and some kind of cream cheese thing. Nice burfi and sandesh. And where'd this come from? Oh, it's from Mangalarti. She used to get up alone and cry because no one was there at Mangalarti, the little deities. So, we got a letter from Prabhupada. This is the morning program. We were shocked. 4 o'clock in the morning, bare minimum, Mangalarti. Prabhupada laid out the whole thing, chanting japa, we didn't have Guru Puja in those days, but Bhagavatam class, it was all, wow, And Prabhupada said this is a bulwark against Maya. Those are the exact words Prabhupada used. Bulwark against Maya. If you're in Holland, this is a big hint, it's called the Netherlands, it's called the Lowlands. What happens if you remove the dikes from Holland? It's flooded because the water is already here. You remove that dam, it's flooded. The morning program, chanting japa, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, if we don't do these things, just like if you remove that dam, the water floods. Maya will flood. So we take shelter of the morning program of the association devotees, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, living in a holy place, worshiping the deities, because it protects us. And Prabhupada, it's a boat. Prabhupada said it doesn't matter where you are on the boat. If I'm being tossed on the ocean, is it a wise, hey, this boat is rocking, let me jump off into the ocean. Is that a wise move? My only hope is stay on board the boat. The storm will blow over. That's the nature of a storm. It will end. If we stay on board the boat, storm will blow over. And if we stay on the boat, it doesn't matter whether you're in the bilge, whether you're in the stern or the bow or you're the masthead. Doesn't matter where you are. When the boat sails into the harbor, safe harbor, you arrive in the safe harbor. If we just stay on the boat that Prabhupada crafted, it'll all work out. So, summary. We'll be quick. A rope is necessary, but is it sufficient? If I fall into a well, and we are all in a dark well, is the rope, it's necessary, but is it sufficient to get out? What do you have to do? You got to grab on. You got to grab on and climb. Malati Devi tells a story. Prabhupada's coming out from the Pandal. A man fell at Prabhupada's feet. Big nice outdoor program, 20,000 people. The man grabs Prabhupada's feet. Save me, save me. What was Prabhupada's answer? I can save you, but you must do the work. Prabhupada gives the example. You can give all good instructions to a pilot, but ultimately he's got to fly the plane. Prabhupada wrote me personally. He said, ultimately we all have to be our own acharya. And then Prabhupada said, because after all, we are all alone at the time of death. Of course, we have Krishna and the devotees and our spiritual master, but materially we're all alone at the time. Nobody can help you. So we got to learn the lesson and fly the plane. Okay. We have to tune our heart to catch Krishna's signal by making the heart pure. What is the nature of our heart? We have to meditate on this. Krishna wants to come to a clean, pure place. Krishna reciprocates with a clean heart. Srila Prabhupada, this is Jayananda, the great hero. We always do something on Jayananda's appearance day. Jayananda, Tamal Krishna Maharaj told me this. When Jayananda was given Brahman initiation, you'll see, when devotees take initiation, they forget the four regulative principles. The brain freezes sometimes, So Jayananda, such a nice, graduated with a master's in structural engineering from San Jose State. He was a smart guy, nice guy, When Prabhupada was teaching him how to chant the Gayatri mantra, he got completely jumbled up. Prabhupada gave him the thread. He tangled up the whole thread. He was nervous, And Prabhupada looked at him. Prabhupada said, "You are hopeless." He couldn't remember the mantra. He couldn't count on his fingers. So imagine your spiritual master tells you, you're hopeless. But then Prabhupada said, "But you're so sincere, whatever you chant, Krishna will accept." That's what Prabhupada said about Jayananda. And of course, Jayananda, he was just nervous. He was actually a very smart guy. So, Bhavagrihi Janardanam. Krishna knows what's in our heart. Hanuman, if you look inside Hanuman's heart, you have Sita and Ram. Krishna knows what's in our Yeyatam mam prapadyante. As we surrender, Krishna reveals himself. And the famous question, the Sanskrit scholar, I was sitting there. He said, "Swamiji, is it Krishna? Is it Krishna? Is it Krishna?" Prabhupada said, "Don't worry. He knows who's chanting. He knows who's calling. Krishna knows who's calling. He knows you can't cheat. Of gamblers, I'm the cheat," Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. You try to cheat Krishna, how did that work out for Ravana or Hiranyakasipu? You can't do it. But Krishna knows our heart. Are we just enthusiastic, determined, and patient? It'll all work out. And just stay in Prabhupada's boat. It's perfectly crafted. All these principles are woven. They're the planks and the sails and the rigging of the ISKCON boat. We're almost done. You can read the purport in the Bhagavatam. If you let the weeds grow, it'll drain the pond. If we let the weeds grow, it'll drain the bhakti out of our heart. It takes time. You wonder, what happened to that devotee? Well, he was a nice devotee at one time. And if you study, they weren't chanting their japa, they're not reading, they're not coming to the temple, they're offending the devotees. There's a reason. They let those they became arrogant or proud. And you see that as they let the weeds grow, it drained their reservoir of devotional service and the desire to serve. So it's not enough to plant it. We have to protect the tender creeper of devotion. If we follow the process, we're guaranteed success. Stay on the Bhakti Marg. We need to pull up the anchor if we're going to reach the goal. We need to beat the mind in the morning with shoes and in the evening with a broomstick. Instead of just catering to it. But Bhaktisiddhanta, they asked him, "How do I control the mind?" Bhaktisiddhanta said, "First thing you do is beat it with a shoe in the morning and a broomstick in the evening." What is it Raghunath Das Thakur says to his mind? "O mind, thou art not a Vaishnava." So how to train the mind to be bees and flies? Train the mind. So we have to also remember the value of the goal. Prabhupada said, just like you wake up from a dream, we're being eaten by a tiger or, whatever it is, we've been dumped down a shaft, or, so many things in a dream. And you wake up, it's over. Prabhupada said it'll be just like that. We wake up, we hear the flute, we see the dust cloud, Krishna comes over the hill with the cowherd boys, and we just fall in, or whatever our ras is, and off we go. So we have to remember the goal. We're getting Krishna's lotus feet. No more of these collapsible contraptions. No more anxiety. What is it? Where every step is a dance, every word is a song. And what is the thing I'm forgetting? It's one of, We can say that every day is a festival. That's the spiritual world. That's where we're going. So we can end there. That's about cleansing the heart. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for sitting so patiently. Hare Krishna.